So in this video, I'm going to show you how any stakeholder in your organization can access information from the Ship Constructor project without requiring Ship Constructor at all. So this is actually all done through the ProjectViewer, which is a enterprise platform product. So first thing is when you install it, there's going to be an icon that's going to be installed on your desktop. So the end user will just simply have to double click on it. Once they double click on it, you'll get a UI that looks like this. In essence, it's telling you what information do you want to filter and load into the project viewer. Because obviously there's going to be a lot of information, and even though the project viewer can handle all this information, you want to bring it into a context that they can consume, so make something a little bit smaller. So for this example, we'll just select parts. Again, I can pick drawings, assemblies, and various other sources, but we'll say I want to select parts, and I want to load all parts of a particular unit. So I'll select unit 2, or actually do unit 1. So when I select it, what's going to happen is it loads all the information from unit 1. So here it loaded about 3,000 parts, I would assume. That's how many parts I have in unit 1, as well as all the content that is generated from that part, as well as relationships to that part. So for example, it loaded the part information, but also the assembly information and the drawing information. So if I go on the pane here, if I look at the left pane, this is a list of all my my parts. So if I select remove these filters, it'll give me a flat list of all the parts that are in my unit, which is the source I picked. And now I can do a lot of filtering if I want to filter by part type, if I want to filter by part name, if I want to actually filter out to only get items that contain PO2, for example. Now I filtered everything that only lists that has PO2 in its name, and I can filter on absolutely anything I want. So I'll just clear this filter for now. Also, I can categorize my filters, my UI structure here. So say, for example, I want to filter by my model drawing. So now these are all my model drawings in my project. And if I go to the chilled water, these are the parts that are contained in the chilled water. And I can even do it a little bit further if I want to do it by part type. So this is user configuratable, so you can change it to whatever makes sense for you guys. So once you filter this and get it to a structure that you find useful for what you're trying to do, in essence, once you select a part, it will change the selection in on the right-hand side. So it's really hard to see in a lot of these cases, but when I do select it, it is changing the output on the right-hand side. It's just for a lot of the same output, I have similar type of information generated. So over here, I also did my filter, but if I remove these filters, this is just the basic information that I've generated for this pipe part. So as you can see, on the source, which is part, this is information that is just related to that part itself. And I also have source that's from an assembly, as well as the drawings that that part's part of. So if I select, you can kind of see the image, that's the elbow that I have, and that's the image of the pipe system that it's in. If I select something from a different system, we'll go to the fresh water. Select a pipe there. You can see that the image actually changes, as well as the image of the freshwater drawing changes. I can even just source it different here, just so that you can kind of see what information I have. So this is the information from the assemblies and the drawings and the parts and so forth. So another thing to note as well is that I can load this other information. So if I actually wanted to go to this pipe and look at the model drawing, this is the DWG, and export of the DWG. So it's pure 100% native. If I double click on it, it's going to open up an export of that drawing. If I go to a different drawing, let's see if I go to a frame drawing here, and go to plate, which this part looks like that, and the model drawing looks like that. And I will open the export drawing from my project viewer. So I've just double clicked on it and it automatically opens the AutoCAD drawing for it. And because I created a native file, if I look at the properties here, you'll see that it is actually a 3D solid. So I can use this for any integration or any other systems or software that don't require Ship Constructor. But if I also go back, a common use case a lot of people have is if I want to open up a Navisworks file. So depending on whatever search I do here, I want to open up a Navisworks of just that model drawing. I will be able to open up just that Navisworks of just that model drawing. So once it opens it up, we can orbit around it. I can even actually select it and it shows all the Ship Constructor properties from that Navisworks. Another is there's a Navisworks NWD file, which gives you the whole unit, but it's static. So you can use the free version of Navisworks to open it up, so you don't require simulate or manage. But if I also want to have an NWF, which automatically updates with a current drawing, I can open up that drawing from the project viewer. And this gives me my unit and can navigate it as I see fit. And as with any Navisworks, if it's created by the NWF, I can select on it. And if I want to open up the Ship Constructor drawing, I can right click on it and use the switchback command. And it'll open up Ship Constructor. It actually selects the part that I have selected in my Navisworks and puts me in the exact same view that I was in my Navisworks. And because Navisworks is actually in perspective, I would have to switch this to parallel, which more of us are familiar with, at least in AutoCAD. And we'll do a zoom here. So it gives you all the properties, and this is Ship Constructor. So if I want to make modifications to this, it will save it to the project. So it gives an easy way for even people using Ship Constructor to have access to it. So obviously, if you are opening any of the Navisworks files, you require Navisworks. If you just want to open up the DWG, you just require WaveViewer. If you're just using it to look at the images or even the parts, again, the parts TSV is just opening up in Excel, which is just the bill of materials. You have access to all that information. And all this information is generated by the job scheduler, so there's not really anything that the end user has to worry about. It's all configuration, or it's all managed and configured from a system administration perspective. So the users just has the information available to them. So I hope that was useful. Thank you very much.